to this week's Three Legs, Four Wheels F1 podcast. It's Paul here with
Dan.
Chris.
Sean.
We've done it. We managed to get the same lineup for 2 shows.
Yay.
Hey. But still no Lee.
Still no Lee. He is still... How do we best describe him?
Recuperating.
That'll do.
Yeah. Had a small relapse.
Minor setback.
That minor setback sounds like a band that he would hate. So
Yeah.
let's call it minor
We'll
setback.
call it that then.
Yeah.
Well, I think what it was, he found out he could get morphine if he said he was ill.
That probably explains it then. And apologies for being a little bit late this week. We just had a couple of logistical problems
Yes.
with being able to record anywhere.
Yes.
But all sorted, and we are here now.
Indeed we are.
And we have a Grand Prix to preview, if I can actually speak.
Grand Preview.
Grand Preview. Very nice. Second one of the year already. Come on. What's going on?
Where's this season going? It'll be December before we know it.
But it's still March.
No. But yeah, the Grand Prix is happening in March as well. I'm not with it today. It's been a long couple of days. But yes, Bahrain Grand Prix this Sunday.
Yes.
At a reasonable time for UK and European viewers.
Which is welcome after Australia.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. First night race of the season.
Which Bahrain's been better since it became a night race, hasn't it?
I
Are
think
we all
so,
in
yeah.
It
agreement
is.
with that?
Yeah.
It seems to be a better race. The track
Yeah.
just seems to work better, which is good.
And going into it with Valtteri Bottas leading the Drivers' Championship. That's some words that I know, but not necessarily in that order.
He's got the bit between his teeth.
He looked like a driver last time out.
Yeah, he did.
Which is
not,
helpful.
Not that he just looked like a driver, but he looked like a driver who knew how to put all the other drivers away quite comfortably, including the almost invincible last season Lewis Hamilton. So
I mean, there's a lot of people saying, no, he's looking good for a possible title this year. Too soon.
Very
far
much
too
so.
soon.
Well,
Very much so.
If he
Vettel-
continues the way he was going in Adelaide, in Melbourne.
In
Adelaide.
In Adelaide, yeah, sorry, I just went back a few decades there. In Melbourne, then, yeah, if he wins every race, he'll be world champion. But it's a bit too soon.
yeah, I mean Vettel won the first 2 races last year,
Yeah.
Yep.
and we were saying, oh, it looks nailed on for a Ferrari title. That's a comment that. The podcast from this time last year probably hasn't aged very well.
No.
Well, the podcast from this time last week probably hasn't aged very well.
Yeah, okay. Yeah.
Matured like a fine cheese. We'll get to a Grand Prix preview later, but there are news things, none of which happened on Tuesday.
A little bit of news is
A little
bits and bobs of news.
So all the news is going to happen on Thursday because we're recording on a Wednesday.
yeah,
Of
Formula
course.
One conspiracy.
Yeah. Yeah. If it
Just get ready. Lee's going to start podcasting again any time now.
That's what they're saving all their news for, I think.
yeah, everything's going to happen at the drivers' press conference, which is always on Thursday.
Oh, no, I meant when Lee's back. Everyone's saving their shocking news for that.
Just to give him an aneurysm.
Yeah.
Silly season starts in China.
Well, apparently Mick Schumacher is going to be driving for Ferrari within hours, and he will be the next world champion for them. But not. But he is testing.
Well, it was announced, wasn't it, a while ago that he was going to test the Alfa Romeo at Bahrain.
Yeah.
Now he's splitting his 2 days by testing. Is it Ferrari on Tuesday?
Ferrari on Tuesday and Alfa on
Romeo
Wednesday.
on Wednesday.
They really are pushing him along quick. I mean, he's got his first ever F2 race this weekend as well because the F2 season starts.
Yeah, let's not forget he hasn't done a Formula 2 race yet, let alone Formula 1. The only other time he drove a Formula 1 car was when he drove his dad's Benetton round Belgium. Was it to celebrate 20 years or something like that since his... Was it 25 years since his first win or something?
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah, 2016 I want to say that was.
And that was a parade lap that wasn't anything like racing speeds, was it?
No, not at all. It was a complete parade lap, yeah.
But I mean, obviously, with Mick Schumacher being on the Ferrari Young Drivers program, and you've got to use a certain number of young drivers during the year in the testing sessions.
Yeah.
This is ideal. There are other drivers on the Ferrari Young Drivers program as well.
Is Giuliano Alesi one of them?
Giuliano Alesi's there, Callum Eilert, who keeps getting pushed further and further down the pecking order, and was it Luca Giotto?
Luca
you said, as
Giotto
well?
and I think Antonio Fuoco are kind of kicking about in the Ferrari Academy, but I think
And
they
is
might
it-
have
is
got
it-
lost.
One of the new Fittipaldi's, was it Pietro Fittipaldi?
Oh, he's with Haas.
No, Haas
He's,
have got him.
he's a Haas now, is he?
Yeah, well, he drove the Haas in Barcelona.
He was a Ferrari Academy driver though, so I don't know whether he could jump back into.
Well, if he's
Ferrari. Or
with
whether
Haas,
Haas have-
probably yes.
Yeah, whether Haas have just signed him up.
No,
Yeah.
I think Haas have got him and they're sharing him with one of the IndyCar teams because he was.
He did Indy and World Endurance
He
Championship.
does
didn't
look about 13.
He might. Be.
I think he's 20.
I think he's about 20. He's
in
just
that
been
neck of the
preserved
woods.
very well.
Yeah.
He's got all the age that the rest of the Fittipaldis don't have. The Fittipaldis always look older than they are.
Yeah. and-
Emerson looks about 300 now. I'm assuming he isn't 300.
No, he's roughly the same age as.
Paul.
Yeah.
6 minutes. Didn't take long. I'm younger than Michael Schumacher, I'll have you know.
Oh well, Pietro Fittipaldi is 22.
Yeah, but how young does he look? 7.
He had an easy paper round.
Yeah, what, delivering to Emerson's house?
Yes.
Emerson is 72.
And the rest. But yeah, it looks like Ferrari are already planning big things for Mick Schumacher's career if he comes through. I mean, it's Prima that he's driving for in F2, isn't it?
Yes.
They usually win stuff.
But they've also got Sean Gelael. So
Oh, well, they usually build a car to win stuff. Whether the drivers are capable of winning in it is another question.
yeah,
They
he,
can still.
he usually unbuilds a car.
He
a
does,
wall.
but the thing is, Sean Gelael has had the more traditional route of a young driver where it's junior formula, bit crashy, gets a bit better,
Uses
steps up.
daddy's money.
Yeah, steps up, crashes a bit, gets a bit better, steps up, crashes a bit. Just it's a slow progression. I get the feeling Ferrari, and perhaps maybe they might drag Alfa into this as well, are pulling Mick Schumacher along way too quickly. Okay, it's only a test. Let's not get super carried away. The media are going to get carried away because it's a Schumacher in a Ferrari. But the way that they're doing it, it's a lot quicker than the way Lance Stroll went straight into Formula One. And it's a lot quicker than the way Max Verstappen... Well, it's not a lot quicker than the way Max Verstappen came into Formula 1. Essentially, he was in karting and did one season, didn't he?
Yeah.
But for me, it's not the
Didn't
right
happen,
way.
didn't happen bad for Kimi Räikkönen. What was it? His first Grand Prix was only his 24th single-seater race.
He wasn't. He was hyped up a lot though early days. Kimi Räikkönen and put some good performances. He was always going to be a world champion, but never quite made it until McLaren fell over themselves to give him a world championship. And don't get me wrong, I'm very happy that Kimi is a world champion, but yeah, I think Ferrari are going about it all the wrong way, and they stand to ruin Mick Schumacher. The success rate of pulling a driver through the formula really, really quickly is very, very low. It usually ends in them getting farmed out to other teams who then never sign them, and then they fall off into WEC,
Do you think
World
maybe
Rally
that
Championship.
their main aim is to get him a super license so that, okay, it would be silly to put him in a Formula One team at the moment, but if he's got the super license, then they can when they know he's ready.
Yeah, he still has to do a certain amount of Formula 2 events, doesn't he, before he can qualify?
He would have to. I think.
I think
Well,
he'd have
no, he's FIA Formula 3 champion, isn't he?
Yeah, he's got a testing and FP1 license.
Yeah, so he's got
to be able to race. I think
25 points. Is it for the Formula 3 title?
Yeah, so I think he'd only need to finish top 5 in F2.
Yeah.
And then that would give him the points for the super license.
So he needs to be good in F2.
That's depending what he's got from the year before as well.
I'm
'Cause
not-
it's three years in a row that count. So he did. Did he do German Formula 3?
He did 2 years of European Formula 3. But his first year in Formula 3, he was rubbish. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. He was pants. He finished behind, I think he finished 17th in the championship.
So he's got no points from the year before.
So yeah, he probably only needs to be moderate podium contender in F2 to end up at the end of the year with a super license.
Well, the thing is, F2's that open this year because the best drivers aren't there anymore. What was it? The top 4 from last year.
Or in Formula 1.
The top
or
three.
out.
the
Top 3 are in
three
Formula 1 and Markelov.
Was Markelov 4th last year? That sounds.
I'm not sure.
I don't think he was. Talk amongst
You got-
yourselves.
you got me
Do some
thinking
Googling.
now.
But he was a fairly winning driver.
But yeah,
Was he the winningest driver?
Oh, horrible.
I
word.
don't know if he was the winningest driver.
No, because he wasn't taking part in American sport.
Oh no, fourth is still in F2. Fourth was Nick De Vries.
Who's never going to progress further than F2.
No, he's peaked.
What
What are the odds on him coming 4th again this year?
Probably.
It depends. Depends how crashy he decides to get in Monza.
Well, I mean,
Again.
he's going to be on the McLaren Young Drivers program until he's the same age as Emerson Fittipaldi.
Well, Gary Paffert's now retired. I mean, like actual 60-something-year-old. And he was McLaren's young driver until 3
A
years
couple
ago.
of years ago.
Yeah.
But yeah, progressing Mick Schumacher. I suspect what they might be doing is grooming Kimi's replacement at Sauber, and in
Alpha.
turn, Alpha. Sorry,
Hand in the
yes,
swear jar.
excuse me. And in turn, then grooming Vettel's replacement a few years further down the line after he's had a bit of a practice in the B team.
Is he? Are they preparing Schumacher for if Giovinazzi is rubbish?
Now, that's the way I can see it going. If Giovinazzi doesn't perform...
Is it now more important to have a German in the Ferrari than it is to have an Italian in the Ferrari?
I think it must be. It's not. It didn't work out badly for him in the past.
Well, 20 years ago, yeah.
But yeah, if Giovinazzi can't cut it and gets completely and utterly destroyed by Raikkonen, then they've got the option of moving Schumacher up next year. And no one knows what's going to happen with Vettel at the end of 2020 because that's when his contract's up, isn't it?
I think so, but where
Then again, everybody's contract's up at the end of 2020
Yeah.
at the moment because there's no
No
Concord
one-
agreement,
yeah.
so there isn't a Formula One.
technically speaking, yeah, although I think there are some drivers who have contracts with
Options
Yeah.
and stuff.
Oh.
with
option
the companies until post
Yeah.
post that time, because there probably will be some sort of racing formula.
Yeah, but yeah, are they looking at taking him on the Charles Leclerc route, which would be a year in Sauber/Alpha, and then moving him up? So get him testing this year and used to the car.
They want to make sure that Charles Leclerc is up to the job first.
It's going to involve a lot of plate spinning by Ferrari, but as we know, Ferrari
if he's not-
Ferrari are good at plate spinning.
If he's not, and there are already rumours, murmurs of Vettel maybe leaving or falling out of favour with Ferrari, then they could find themselves 2 drivers down.
And I think it makes sense for Ferrari to be starting to build a pipeline of drivers.
Yeah. I mean, what they're going to do? Bring Kimi back?
At some point, that will cease to be an option.
44 years old, Kimi Raikkonen.
How old was Schumacher when he made his comeback at Mercedes?
40 was he? 41?
Hang on, what year was it? He came back
2010.
41.
Yeah. Possible.
Yeah, you never know. But yeah, I mean, Ferrari do actually have a lot of drivers on their young drivers program, and they appear
You've
to
just
be
reminded me of
in favour
something.
of using them.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt.
That's
You just
all right.
reminded me of something. Ferrari fell out with the Schumachers when Schumacher Michael went to Mercedes and decided he wanted to wear a red helmet with red gloves. Ferrari tried to kick off and say, "You can't wear red. That's the colour you wore with us."
Ferrari don't own red, surely. Is that what they're trying to suggest?
Yeah, I think
They
so.
own the colour red.
Yeah, and that Michael. I mean, Michael may have only changed his colour to red because he was driving for Ferrari.
Because he had the blue helmet before, and then all of a sudden, after 2 years in Ferrari,
It started more red,
The
more
blue,
red.
the blue bit switches to a very Marlboro red colour.
Yes, and lots of red. But you had red gloves and a red helmet with his silver suit, which looked a bit odd. But yeah, Ferrari kicked off saying that you can't take that sort of imagery over to Mercedes. And now they're like, yes, but now we have your son, and literally there's nothing you can do about it.
Which sounds a bit like they've kidnapped him.
A bit.
maybe that's the compensation.
But you reckon he had to sign
You can
away
wear
the
red,
image
but we
rights
want-
to his son?
But
to...
we want your firstborn. That'd be a very Ferrari thing to do. Oh no, sorry, they're not based in Sicily, are they?
Or are they?
Shall we move swiftly on?
They might
Yeah.
not be formally
Probably
based
for
in
the best.
Sicily.
Yeah, I'll do that while I've still got thumbs. McLaren, I don't think they're threatening to quit.
No, there was this. Well, I read it as a threat to quit.
No, you read a clickbaity headline as a threat to quit.
Well, I skimmed an article, and
Now, in my former manager's world, that would make you fully qualified.
oh dear, but it's
But-
it's not a threat to quit. It's saying that
Just to put people who haven't read the article into the picture,
Yeah.
what we're talking about here, Zach Brown has said that McLaren would consider their position in Formula One. Is that what is that
Yeah.
the words he used? If the rule changes in 2021,
overly,
spec-
overly favour manufacturers.
yeah,
Yeah, because then
which
Sorry.
yeah, you can read it as a threat to quit, but also it's business reality.
Mm-hmm.
It's if we're never
Yeah.
going to have a chance to win, why would we be here?
for a number of years now, McLaren has been more than a Formula One team. It's an engineering facility, and the McLaren Applied Technologies is applying technologies to literally everything
Yeah.
in the world, and they build road cars now as well. If they weren't doing Formula One, McLaren as a business entity probably be okay. Obviously, the Formula One team is a massive part of their business.
Yeah.
Don't forget, WEC are bringing in the hypercars category in 2 years' time. Who's going to be nailed on favourite for that?
Depends what happens in the next 2 years with hypercars, because there are some crazy, stupid hypercars coming out at the moment.
Yeah, but I mean, if it's going to be a hypercar that's
At the moment, you'd say the
design-
McLaren Senna.
yeah, but, if it's going to be a class for hypercars that are tuned for competition, McLaren make hypercars, they tune racing cars.
Yeah. When you look at it that way, yeah,
No, it's going to be a McLaren versus Ferrari fight in that particular class.
which is what they want to be happening in Formula One.
Is the Adrian Newey Aston Martin not in the hypercar category?
You would think
You
that
would
there
assume
would be
so,
some
wouldn't
kind
you?
of Aston Martin entry. Yeah. The AN1. But if McLaren are basically, well, Zach Brown's basically saying that there's no point in them competing if the playing field isn't level enough for them and teams like them to be able to compete. And I've got to agree with him. But I don't think it's a Ferrari-esque. I'm taking my bat and ball home because I don't like what you're doing. I think it was just making sense. But a lot of the clickbaity headline writers have jumped on and said, "Oh, Zach Brown threatens to pull McLaren out of Formula One." Bollocks.
It could be something entirely different. I mean, considering the position is very, very open to interpretation. Everyone's assumed that means quitting. They do make cars. They could make an engine realistically if they wanted to.
Yeah, they could become a
But
manufacturer.
if they decide it favours manufacturers, let's be a manufacturer. That's our position now.
Yeah.
That would be considering their position.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the whole 2021 thing is still up in the air, but things are progressing, allegedly.
there have been meetings taking place.
Secretive ones, under cover of darkness. But not at Bernie's Biggin Hill.
No. Bernie Eccleston's Biggin Hill compound.
Yes, to give it its full name.
Yes.
Trademark.
Yeah.
Inc.
He also has the Bond villain beard now. Goatee.
I don't reckon that's the real Bernie. I think that's the good Bernie from the alternative mirror universe.
Do you reckon they got it from the same place as fake Melania? It's just like someone just dishing out spares. Like an agency.
Maybe Bernie could be the fake Melania.
Ooh, that's
Well,
a rumor.
We'll send that one over to Lee. That'll go down well on one of his other podcasts. But yes, the 2021 meetings are happening because who was it that said it? I think it might have been Gunter Steiner that said they need to get on with something quick because the design for the 2021 cars is going to be starting in the next 2 to 3 months.
Yeah.
And we'd like to know what we're designing. Which
Always helpful.
I
really.
think that would be useful. All we know at the moment is the engine regulations aren't going to change massively.
We don't know what they are going to change. It's possible that they could remove the MG or standardise the MG UK.
Yeah, it looks like that's going to be staying because that's what Ferrari and Mercedes wanted.
Right.
Mainly Mercedes, by all accounts. It's going to be a standardised gearbox because the tenders have gone out for that. And they've not released what the other parts are, but apparently they've put tenders out for 9 other components on cars, which are going to be standard.
Well, that could be anything from spark plugs to
Chassis.
yeah.
Let's hope it's not a chassis.
Well, I don't know.
Chassis, engine, aero.
Indif 1.
I don't know. I've always argued that Formula One needs to decide which way it wants to go and then stick with it. Either become completely open to design and just like let them just do what they want. Here's a box, draw your car within that box and make it as fast as you can. Or you're using this and it's down to the drivers.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. There's, over the last, 20 years, been a fight between the standardising things and
Yeah.
the free-for-all. And I'd prefer the free-for-all.
Formula 1 is meant to be the pinnacle of technology.
I
Yeah.
prefer the free-for-all as well.
So if one manufacturer is better at making one aspect of the car and another is good at making another aspect of the car, let them fight it out to see which particular bit that they're best of makes
Do you remember
the car
in the,
better.
in the 90s when there was a couple of years where you had V12s, V10s, and V8s
Yeah.
all up
Yeah.
against each other? And it was fine because they could produce similar amounts of power, but the V10s and the V12s obviously had slight advantage over the V8s on like tracks like Monza, Silverstone, things like that. But then that made the teams with the V8 engines work harder to find different things that they could then get the advantage on for other circuits. And you found that the V8s actually weren't far behind when you were expecting them to be.
and then the V8s had the better reliability in a lot of cases as well because when you got the big engine blowouts,
Yep.
it was the bigger engines that went because there were more parts to go wrong.
Yeah, and on the more technical circuits, the V8s with their quicker acceleration worked better.
Yeah, go back to the original turbo era when not every car had a turbo engine in it, and there was naturally aspirated cars racing alongside turbo ones. You know, there was a few years in that where it was hard to tell what was the better package.
Yeah.
So let it be a development race. Don't turn it into a spec series.
No, because I mean, what would happen? I think eventually would be that you'd have Mercedes with their double batteried, hybrid powered, 1,500 horsepower V8, should we say, for argument's sake, twin turbo. And if that was the fastest engine or power unit, eventually people would migrate towards that.
Yeah.
But Honda might go, oh no, we're going to go with the straight six because we think it's better for packaging and we'll get a better aero package out of it. And what we'll lose in power will be, we'll make up for an aero.
And because we can make it for £2 million an engine cheaper than
Yeah.
the Mercedes thing, which the teams can then spend on other parts of the car.
To gain that advantage. I was
gain
just
the
talking about
advantage
them.
back, yeah.
Like the V8s wouldn't be that far behind or would sometimes be ahead in the case of like the mid-90s Benetton, for example, which used a V8. Then, yeah, I don't understand what the problem is in leaving it open source.
Yeah.
We're not here to fix Formula One.
No, we keep trying. They've never listened to us yet.
No.
And it's still broken.
Yeah, that's true. But apparently it's not going to be broken this time in 2 years. I'm pretty sure we said that 2 years ago.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see. Right, what have we got next? Ah, yes. Another podcast to talk about.
Is this the official F1?
The official
podcast?
F1 podcast, so we're allowed to talk about that.
Beyond the Grid.
Beyond the Grid, with this week's guest, Luca de Montezemolo, who had a few uncomplimentary things to say about Fernando Alonso.
Were they meant to be uncomplimentary, or was he just saying as it was?
Well, it came out as uncomplimentary. Let me just find the quote.
Because when you read this quote out, I'm going to say this is not just down to Fernando Alonso. I think this is most racing drivers.
Yeah, sorry, the F1 app appears to have disappeared from my phone. It was there earlier. Found
It's
it
a
again.
conspiracy.
You've been logged out.
And bearing in mind that he's not talking in his native language as well.
There
yeah,
is that.
this will
yeah.
be an
He didn't
Italian
talk-
talking about a Spaniard in English.
Yeah, he didn't talk in English an awful lot when he was in Formula One, other than to say, when people crowd around the Ferrari motorhome, he'd give a few words and then walk off in a very flamboyant Italian style. His hair never moved.
There we go. Right. Basically, what he said was on reasons why it didn't work out at Ferrari for Alonso. Scroll down to it. I had this earlier. It's bloody logged me out of it.
Yay, we love technology.
Yeah. He was less close to the team than Michael and Nicky, particularly in the difficult moments. To be close to the team in the good moments is easy. In terms of performance, Fernando was very good. If he won one championship today, we're talking about something different. We are talking that Alonso, despite his many years, didn't have the best car and was able to win the championship. Alonso is very strong, which all fine and good, but he also said he was Alonso, not Alonso Ferrari. When he wins, he's happy. When he doesn't win, it's the problem of the team. He's unhappy. Alonso kicked off about that.
Well, I don't know that. Well,
He seemed to kick off about it.
I think he called it fake news. I don't think he kicked off at Montezemolo. He might be doing so now that it's come out. But I think at the time of the typing press, as it came out online,
Because this came out Monday and the podcast only came out today, Wednesday.
Yeah. So Fernando said, "You never give me a reason to follow this account, and now I'm reminded why." The president never said this. We fought really hard up until the last moments, nearly won championships. Now, clearly, De Montezemolo did say it, but does Fernando mean he didn't mean that?
He didn't say it like that.
Yeah, you're taking him out of context. He still calls him president, which I think is
Possibly
quite telling. I saw an interview on TV with current Manchester United manager Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and he still calls Alex Ferguson boss, which just slightly strange. I don't call any of my former employees boss if I ever see them.
Employees.
Employers. Sorry.
It would be slightly strange if you called an employee boss.
Yeah, no, I've never been high up enough to have employees of my own. Employers, I meant to say, yeah. I never called any of my former managers boss when I've seen them. That's because I don't call them boss anyway.
I was going to say...
Call them by their first name.
I used to have a chairman at a company that I worked for insisted on not being addressed by his first name. It was always Mr. Surname.
Mr. Surname.
Yeah. Like first name, last name.
Yeah.
And the first time I saw him after I'd left that company, I made a point of calling him by his first name, and there was nothing he could do about it. It was a really small, petty, Partridge-esque victory, but I won. In the end, I had the last laugh. Sorry, I've been watching way too much Alan Partridge again. So is this Alonso thing going to be a storm in a teacup, do you reckon, or...
It's just going to fizzle out. I don't think either of them are that bothered enough to do anything about it. Do you know what I mean? It's a conversation about two people who used to be in Formula One. They did quite well. They didn't win world championships, and I don't think either of them blames the other one for it.
Nah, it's good for clickbait.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
Much like the quit threat
Yeah.
from McLaren.
Yeah. Definitely hints of clickbait around this podcast tonight for some reason. In that case...
Click this link.
What's happening on Sunday in Bahrain will blow your mind.
You'll
There's a
never
race.
believe what happens next on this podcast.
Yeah.
Click here to find out.
They've already clicked the listening to it. That's
Click here to find out.
Okay, why
Stop
are you
pointing at your knees?
Why are you pointing at your legs and saying "click here"?
Click here. Nobody's clicking on my legs.
I'll set a cat on you if you're not careful. Bahrain Grand Prix this weekend.
Cats can't click. They haven't got thumbs.
Wouldn't button it with these.
Alexa, click here.
I'm not sure what went wrong.
Alexa,
That's
isn't
why
clicking
nobody was
there.
clicking.
Yeah, something went wrong.
That's set everyone's
Yeah.
Alexa devices
Yes.
off.
In which case,
No, we've already done that one. We saw what happened when I asked her to order a Faraday cage.
no, we're not doing.
We're not doing that again.
No, I'm not doing that one. I was going to just make myself some money on the side. It's fine.
Can we talk about this weekend's race, please?
Yeah, of course
Yes.
you can.
Right. So second race of the season. Ferrari seem to think they've got the problems under control that they had in Australia, and they're expecting a better showing this week.
That would be nice.
It would be good.
It'd be nice to have Ferrari in the fight.
Yeah.
'Cause let's be honest, they weren't really in the fight in Melbourne.
No,
as
I
much
mean-
as we were expecting them to be anyway.
Vettel's pace just went away completely, and
Well, it did, but later on he managed to hang on to Hamilton for quite a long time, and then the gap just got bigger.
yeah,
And then Verstappen turned up and did his thing.
Verstappen doing Verstappen things,
Yeah.
as he usually tends to. I mean, there's a chance that if Ferrari have actually got the cooling problems and the issues sorted out, we could see a better showing from them. Helmut Marko's actually waded in to the Ferrari thing.
The Ferrari no.
Yeah, it's not like anyone that's got anything to do with the Red Bull organisation to start playing mind games with another team, is it?
No.
Not in the slightest. But yeah, Helmut Marko's come out and said, "Oh yeah, it's their cooling. It's definitely a problem for them." So good that the boss of another two teams on the grid knows so much about Ferrari.
Yeah. Yeah, well, if he knew so much about Ferrari, he would have known how to beat them over the last few years, surely.
You would have thought.
Yeah.
But yeah, Ferrari making a comeback. Mercedes obviously being in their accustomed strong position at the moment. What do we think about Red Bull's chances? Because
I think quite strong, to be honest with you.
Honda seem to think that they're going to get wins on the board before the summer break.
I won't be surprised if it happens in Bahrain, to be perfectly honest with you. Look at how strong Pierre Gasly was in the Toro Rosso in Bahrain last year.
That is true. I mean, he did get fourth,
He got 40. Okay, he was miles back on the top three. But
but he still got fourth.
He obviously
but he
likes
got
the track.
fourth. Yeah. He likes the track. The Honda engine seemed to be. Keep this quiet so it doesn't listen. It seemed to be okay under the lights of Bahrain when it was nighttime. Couldn't see the sun, so it was all right.
It's not a morning engine.
No, no, it's a night owl. I think they'll be massively buoyed at Honda and at Red Bull after the performance, more than anything in Melbourne. At times, Verstappen was looking like he might get a fastest lap. He was the quickest car out there for. He was chasing down Lewis Hamilton for a bit until Hamilton went, I better not let this Red Bull get close enough, and then put a bit of distance between them. But it was right up until closing laps, it was looking like Verstappen could pass Hamilton. Now a Honda engine passing a Mercedes, a works team, unthinkable a couple of years ago, but
A couple of years ago, a Honda engine passing practically anything was unthinkable.
yeah, but it's I think the Red Bull main team will be looking at. I agree with that statement. They'll probably have wins on the board before the summer break. Wins plural.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me, and it would be the biggest turnaround from a supplier manufacturer that we've seen in recent years. I mean, you look at the low points of Honda since they came back into F1.
All of it.
Everything up to putting it in the back of a Toro Rosso.
Yeah.
And to see them actually being seriously looked at as race-winning contenders. It's Honda, it's where they should be.
Yeah, I honestly don't think there is that much of a difference between the engines nowadays. At the start of the hybrid formula, it was clear Mercedes were the best engine. You had Mercedes, then the Ferrari team, and then you'd have Williams and Force India behind them.
Yeah.
But nowadays, you can't tell by looking at the engine in a car where it's going to come.
No,
There
it's-
is the Mercedes at the back of the grid. The Honda was in the McLaren for a while and was towards the back, and everyone said, "Oh, it's because they've got the Honda engine."
It wasn't.
It wasn't.
It wasn't. They
It was a
just had-
factor, but it wasn't.
they
the
had-
sole
it wasn't
reason.
The
exclusively
McLaren
the
now
Honda.
has the Renault. The Red Bull now has the Honda. They've not significantly moved.
No.
The McLaren is a little bit further forward. The Red Bull is where it was, which was at the,
Near the front.
at the pointy end.
But
Yeah.
shockingly, McLaren also blowing up in Australia. So-
Yeah. I did read somewhere that was a total engine loss for Sainz,
Ooh,
but
well, that's not ideal.
I've not seen that in more than one place.
Well, there
so I'm not
was
entirely
fire.
sure.
Yeah.
Fire is not great for engine components as,
No.
as a general rule of thumb.
Metal and plastic tend not to like fire.
No.
Not usually. Not if they want to keep the same shape and same sort of functional qualities. And there's a bloody cat in the latest.
This
one.
is
Yes.
too early in the pod as well. This is not like he's waited until near the end. We're
Yeah.
just starting the bloody preview here.
That has thrown me completely. There's an extra DRS zone in Bahrain this year.
Yeah.
Sean, you're going to explain this because you did such a great job of trying to explain it earlier.
I did not do a very good job. Unfortunately, everywhere that's done an article explaining this third DRS zone, no one seems to have done a fucking map. Like, if you're going to do an article, just a little rant here, if you're going to do an article about where DRS zones are on the track, maybe just throw in the outline of the track and highlight it or something, because I could not find this graphic earlier.
It would be
And I-
kind of like a local news station saying that a road is closed and not telling us where the road is.
Yes, that kind of shit does happen, to
Yep.
be fair.
Yeah, it does.
But yeah, so after much reading and looking at the outline of the track and trying to figure out what the fuck, there's going to be the same two DRS zones they had last year, which is on the start-finish straight and the back straight, which I think is between turns 11 and 12. And then they've added in a third one heading into turn 4, which is the
So-
90-degree right-hander.
Yeah, so as you come out of the start finish straight, you've got
Yep.
like little, you got the,
There's a
you got the
chicane.
turn 1, and then it
Yep.
instantly goes to turn
2,
2, and then 3.
Yeah, coming out of turn 3.
You're gonna have
That's
a
where
DRS
there'll be
zone
another
before
DRS zone
before
into
turn 4.
hard brake for 4.
Is that one about as short as the third one that they're putting in Australia, which was
From the
a little bit on the
description,
pointless side?
from the description, it sounds a bit longer. It's quite a reasonably length straight. So
Talk amongst yourselves for a minute. I'll be back
okay.
in a
Do
second.
you just want to hit pause? Because, God, that is awful, Bruno.
oh no.
Well, that was a jump cut I wasn't expecting to make, and for those reasons, we'll call it a pit stop.
Yeah.
I can think of another word that rhymes with pit. we could call it.
That is the hazards of podcasting in a very open plan flat with cats about.
Yes.
Right, where were we? I'm going to get on to talking about the midfield. You made an interesting point while we weren't recording.
Yeah, at Melbourne, there was no real order to the midfield. It looked like they're all very well bunched up, with the exception of Williams, who are clearly at the back.
3 to 4 laps off the pace.
Yeah, yeah, depending on which driver you pick. Then, you know, we had a very binary race. The whole midfield. There's one Renault had a terrible race, one Renault had a good race.
To the guy that made a comment on the Facebook post for last week's podcast, that is your first cue to take a drink.
Binary result is his.
That's
his
your
drink.
next cue
Yeah.
to take a drink. He said every time they say binary, have a drink.
Oh no, we've all seen that episode of How I Met Your Mother where,
But
Why do you think I replied with a How I Met Your Mother gif?
oh, did you? Brilliant, yeah, excellent. But yeah, you had the one Alpha had a good race, one Alpha had a bad race. One Toro Rosso had a good race, one didn't have so much. Even the Red Bulls, you know, had one good race.
One McLaren finished, one ended up
exactly.
on fire.
Yeah. You know, Haas as well.
One had 4 wheels.
one had Grosjean.
Yeah, one was Grosjean. Yeah.
Or Haas as they are now, Captain Crashy and the Beige Boy.
I did actually see Guido van der Gaard did a very funny tweet about the whole Haas wheel thing. Just like he he took the stills from Gunther Steiner's interview in the Netflix series, and then the next one was you had one job. And it was just Grosjean pulling over to it's like actually, that's going to make you look even worse, isn't it? But I'm really interested to see how the midfield pans out, whether or not we'll get a better picture of how it's going to pan out, or is that just how it is for 2019? Have we been given a picture for after the first race where it's really tight and you're going to have battles here, there, and everywhere in the midfield, and that's where the real proper sort of classic style of racing is going to happen, where anyone can finish in any position, or are we going to see it stretch out a little bit, with a little bit more form take place after the first race?
I would love to see it as a complete battle along the whole of, well, I'd like to say it along the whole of the grid, but the whole of Formula 1.5.
Yeah, I mean, even with Williams, I don't think it was a fair race between Russell and Kubica. Kubica had bits of his car missing.
Oh, Kubica had a long pit stop at the end of lap 1 and did the rest of the race with a damaged car.
I want to see how those two can even go against each other, even if they are two laps down. It's not the race you want to see. You don't want to see Williams racing each other at the back. That's kind of what Manor were doing a few years ago. It's not right, but it'd be interesting to see how they get on in a fair race against each other. But I wouldn't be surprised. I would be very surprised if Williams were anywhere near the rest of the field. I want to see how Ricciardo can do in a fair race, without having damage to his car.
Yeah.
I want to see the Force Indias, not
Pound
Force
it-
Indias.
pound in the swear
There we
jar.
are. Swear jar. The racing points, Sport Pacer racing points, whether or not they're going to be, further up the field. Is Perez going to be closer to Stroll? Is Stroll just that much better than Perez? There's so many open questions that weren't answered in Melbourne, especially in the midfield, and that's what I'm really looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, I think we're in for an exciting one this weekend because I get the feeling we will actually get racing. All right, the top 6 we know.
Ish.
Yeah, with all things being equal, we know the top 6 is going to pan out.
Well,
Well,
we said
do
that
we?
last time, but
Do we?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure that.
We know what 3 teams are going to comprise the top 6 if every car.
not
works.
last time.
No,
There was nothing wrong with Gasly's car.
Exactly. I'm not entirely sure Gasly's got his feet under the table yet. I'm not saying he's terrible and he shouldn't be in a Red Bull. That's for Lee to say.
And I'm sure he will.
But
You're not on the chat thread. He has.
Fair
Yeah.
enough, yes.
I just think it's taking Gasly a little while longer to get used to the workings of Red Bull coming from Toro Rosso. It's different, and he's not quite adjusted as quickly as maybe the team would like him to have done.
I mean, it might actually be the making of him at Red Bull this week because it's a circuit that he's good at. I was about to ask if somebody could pass me a pen, but seeing as the cat's just thrown one on the floor.
He's being a little twat this evening.
When I need something to write predictions down with.
have a look for another pen.
Dan might be able to reach the Bruno Throne pen, and now Dan is falling over.
Oh,
I've recovered.
Look what it says on the pen.
Yes.
Yes,
I
one
don't
you left here.
There must be one I left here. Either that or you've been stealing pens from somewhere else. I've been leaving pens.
You've been leaving pens. Shall we do some predictions?
Oh God, yes. I'd forgotten
I'll
about
give you a
this.
little bit more time to think because Lee sent his in.
Have we got a guest predictor this week?
We
as
do
well?
have a guest predictor, which I will get to in a second. But Lee sent his prediction in of Hamilton win, Bottas second, Vettel third.
It's not inconceivable.
Could well happen. And this week's guest predictor is long-time listener and regular tweeter Niska from South Africa.
Hello, Niska.
And she has gone for a Vettel win. I have to back my Ferrari boys. Hamilton second and Leclerc third.
So Ferrari resurgence as far as Niska's concerned then.
Yes, because she has to back her Ferrari boys.
Yeah, that's
Okay.
fine, absolutely. Yeah.
I will go for Verstappen win,
Ooh.
Vettel second, Bottas third.
Hamilton not even on the podium.
So I've also I'm going to go for the same winner, Verstappen win. I think this is where Verstappen can really pick up his momentum from Australia and just carry it forward. I think Verstappen win purely because Mercedes will be watching Ferrari and not Red Bull. Bottas second, Hamilton third. But then again, if Ferrari, it's hard. If Ferrari gets sorted, then of course they're going to be up there too.
Yeah.
I reckon we might get the Ferrari resurgence. So Leclerc win,
No.
Oh.
Yes, that would be
Vettel
good.
second, Bottas third.
That would be an interesting result, to say the least.
They're going to cover off the wrong pit stop.
Interesting.
Didn't think of it like that. I'm going to go for a Vettel win with Hamilton second and Leclerc third. Because I think Mercedes will have Bottas covering off Leclerc, but I think the Ferrari will have the pace to counteract the undercut. Or Ferrari will outfox Mercedes when it comes to the pit strategy, which they're good at doing early in the season. Not so much later on.
They weren't so good at doing it in Australia.
But the car wasn't so good in Australia, so
No.
they were playing catch up from the start. If the cooling issues, according to Helmut Marko, are fixed, if the car's good, it's winnable for them, and the battle for the minor placings is winnable for them as well. Any thoughts on heroes and villains?
Ooh, hadn't even bothered thinking.
Precisely zero thoughts.
I mean, Haas have got to come back from another dodgy pit stop.
Yes.
Williams as villains for just being the team that is stuck
X
at the
number
back.
of laps
Yeah.
down. How many laps down do we think Williams are going to be this week?
Not as many as there were in Australia. Maybe 3.
Which was as many as George Russell was.
Yeah, and maybe Russell will be 2 laps down.
And you're going 2 and 3.
2 and 3.
Yeah,
I'd
think
prefer to
it's,
see 2 and 2.
I would prefer to see 2 and 2. I prefer to see it on the same lap, if I'm perfectly honest. But
I'd like to see them on the same lap as someone that scores points. I'm not even going that ambitious as the same lap as the winner. But I think they're going to be 2 laps behind.
a fundamental issue with the car which might not be fixed this season, and a lack of parts as well, which is going to hurt them.
This is just, I mean, it's full on soap opera. Sure, I've said
No,
sure
it's
we've
not.
said
It's
that.
full on manner. Circa 2015.
Although this one might have a slightly different ending if Mercedes do step in to pull them out of the shit.
Yeah.
Right, that is the predictions. You can send your own in if you go to the website, 3legs4wheels.com. Look at the games section, and we've got the prediction league on there. Give us your top 3 and your pole position and fastest lap as well. See how you compare with us and everyone else. There was 80-some entries for the Australian Grand Prix. Let's see if we can beat that
Wow.
this time. And
And let's see if anybody gets the right winner this time,
yeah,
because nobody chose Bottas.
no, there was 11 points available, and the winners. There was 4 people
7,
came
was it?
away with 7 points.
Yeah,
That's
so-
good though, because if you weren't with us for the Australian one, you can join in round 2 and not actually be all that far off.
There are a couple of people on 0 as well,
Exactly. Still
Yeah.
plenty of time to play.
Exactly.
Good
and
times.
you can,
And you're probably going to be better than most of us.
Yeah.
yeah. No, I'm saying that as reigning champion
In this room.
in this room, and with Lee, even though he says the steward's inquiry because we didn't let him have one of his predictions.
Yeah, but Lee says weird shit like Grosjean and the number 8. And 13.
Fair point.
I reckon there's a good chance that no one will predict the winner this year. Remember how well Gasly did last year.
Yeah.
Mm.
Which is my thinking behind a Verstappen win.
Possible Gasly as hero.
It could happen.
You never know. We'll be doing the live blog, though, as usual on Sunday. I'll be here. Chris, you might be. Dan,
Yes.
you joining us for the live blog this week?
Yeah, I reckon.
So, again, that'll be on the website, 3legs4wheels.com. We'll be all over Twitter and Facebook, as always.
Yeah, we will.
And looking forward to it. Mm-hmm. Right, shall we shunt it?
Why not?
Yes, let's shunt it. Let's have a total shunt.
Let's have a total shunt. Right, there is... I did promise someone that I would do this one the next time I was asking the questions on total shunt.
Oh, God, that means it's a really difficult one.
Well, what Will Minton called his email was A total shunt to end all shunts total.
Right, This
Oh,
is a
heck.
bold. This is a bold statement.
So we'll see how you do. He also said, please don't give it to Sean Kelly. He'd get it within 2 clues.
I'm
Oh,
not
2.
sure.
That means it's a really difficult one.
I was born. I know who this is, just purely by the tone of your voice.
See if you can get this one from the tone of my voice. I was born
Gerhard Berger.
Michele Alboreto.
in 1927.
Ooh, probably not.
Oh.
Okay.
So, this is someone who would be 100 and no. Oh, what the fuck's my maths? I've not had much sleep.
92.
92.
I'll continue. I have scored multiple wins at the 24 Hours of Le Mans and the 12 Hours of Sebring.
Likely an American
Or a brand.
or a
Yeah.
brand. A thing rather than a
It
person.
could, yeah. The birth of a legacy rather than a being.
Hamilton's a brand.
He has a brand. He is a well, he's something of a person.
Third clue, and I will need a guess
Yeah.
at the end of this
Yeah.
one. At one point, I drove for Cooper.
Also, actually, maybe a person.
Probably is a person.
Yeah.
And I will need a guess.
Phil Hill was the
oh.
first American Formula One champion in 1961.
Yes.
He would have been 34 at the time that he won that title. Then, if this is who we're talking about,
He did venture into a few other series.
He did a
didn't he?
lot. He wasn't quite Jim Clark style of doing events, but he did a lot of events. Events where he had to wear open face helmets and chipped his teeth because of grit and gravel
yeah.
hitting him in the face.
I think that's a good
Phil Hill,
opening
Yeah.
gambit.
1961 world champion Phil Hill.
Okay, that is your first guess. Clue number 4. I have 52 Formula One entries.
That's a good number.
For someone of that era.
Bear in mind there was like what 9 races
Yeah.
in a year.
nine races and probably about the same number of deaths, so
9 championship races though. So you'd have non-championship Formula One events, but I don't know if that would be classing the same. So you don't do non-championship events anymore, do they?
No.
I wonder if they should do just
Apart from
one.
the Race of Champions.
Yeah, but that's
That's not a Formula
not
One
a Formula
race.
One
No.
race. No.
Next clue.
Yes.
In 1949, I signed for Jaguar.
1949. So age 22. Signed for Jaguar. I wouldn't.
Yeah.
That doesn't
No.
help me at
No.
all. I don't think. Can't think of any famous Jaguar drivers that would have been driving for them in 1949.
Okay. And I'll need another guess after this one. This is clue number 6. My last F1 race was in Italy.
Wolfgang von Trips died in Italy, didn't he? He was almost on for the championship one year. Although Italy's the Monza, the old Monza claimed many lives, didn't it? So, you know, Wolfgang von Trips is a possibility. I think he was a German Ferrari driver. Going back to what we were saying before about Germans in Ferraris.
yeah.
Uh,
I feel like Phil Hill probably would not have driven for Jaguar.
I don't know.
I feel like Jaguar
I think-
would be
yeah.
venturing a bit far afield for them.
And for Jaguar, and I'm just getting a little bit historical here. For Jaguar to employ a German driver 4 years after the end of the Second World War,
Yeah, that's a point.
probably not great PR.
So your second guess?
I haven't got anyone else other than Von Trips, who was killed at Monza.
We'll go for that, I think.
Wolfgang Von Trips.
Okay. Clue 7. I won the first and last races of my driving career.
So not Wolfgang von Fritz. So somebody who would have won a race in Italy and then that was it, no more Formula One. I don't know that Italy was ever...
But back in those days, the drivers would be racing in a load of different formulas, so you could win Formula One in Italy and then go off to do Formula Two
I
in
see.
Germany.
Yeah, yeah.
And not come back from that.
Yeah.
But my knowledge of
So
drivers from that era
Exactly,
is...
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm all right with Formula One since I've been watching it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
haven't done a Sean.
historically is
and gone to, you know, gone super historic.
Okay, well, I'll give you the next clue. It's
Is this 8 or 9?
this will be number 8,
Okay.
and like what Dan said, I finished 4th in the Tasman series.
Oh, for fuck's sake. That is very far afield. Much further afield than your standard European.
Yeah.
Something that an American might have done, though?
I mean, Jim Clark did Tasman series, didn't
Yeah,
he?
whilst he was doing everything
Yeah.
else.
So not necessarily an
Yeah.
American.
From Australia to France to Russia to Germany to the UK, back to Australia.
And then quick blast around Formula Greenland.
Yeah.
God, could you imagine Jim Clark versus Kimi Raikkonen in a snowmobile race?
Yeah.
I think I'd give it to Jim Clark.
Clue number 9.
Yes.
Yes.
My son raced in International Formula 3000.
You see now, International Formula 3000 became GP2. Yeah.
So, just trying to do the maths. Say this is someone who's had son, I don't know, what, mid-20s to mid-30s. So, child would probably have been 20-ish?
In the 80s,
Yeah,
early
sort of.
90s, maybe. I can't think of... I don't know anyone who came up through Formula 3000. I can't name any driver. Obviously, Formula 1 drivers will have been in Formula 3000, but I can't name... Like now with GP2, we're like, well,
Yeah.
George Russell's GP2. I can't name anybody that I know went up from 3000 up to Formula 1. But I was just like, oh yeah, I saw him racing in Formula 3000. So we're looking at somebody who's done 24 Hours of Le Mans and Sebring.
Yep.
Could this be Graham Hill?
I don't think Damon raced in... He didn't come up through the junior formulas, did he?
Ah,
He did eventually. He did bikes first.
Yeah.
And then he had to start from the bottom and work his way up as quite an old racing driver already. But like Sean said last couple of times we had him on, Damon was one of those drivers who got faster the more horsepower you gave him.
Yeah.
So he just needed somebody to have faith in him to give him that next step up and trust that he'd be even faster.
I can give you a Spaffer question. Or you can go
yes.
for it.
For a half point, I think is worth it.
For a
Yeah.
half point, I am the only American F1 world champion.
Oh.
Right. So we got it.
Phil Hill.
You actually got it
Phil
on
Hill.
you
Wow.
got it on your first guess.
Phil
Well
Hill.
done, Flood.
Just want to thank Will Minton for sending that one in. It half got him.
Half got us. I was unsure with a couple of things.
We seem to get like further away from Phil Hill as it progressed.
I take Phil Hill for half a point. If you'd offered me that at the beginning, I'd be like, yeah, go on then. I'll take that as half a point.
Well, if I'd have said at the beginning, here's a total shunt, tell you what, you can go for Phil Hill for half a point if you want. That kind of gives the game away.
Yeah.
This is true.
Just last thing to do is a quick update on Formula Lee. It's Bahrain in a Toro Rosso in the dry, and you've got until next Monday, the 1st, to get your times in.
April Fool's Day in the UK.
April Fool. Well, I think it's April Fool's Day everywhere.
Well, yeah.
Particularly if you're Jacques Villeneuve, because he's always fooling around.
Oh, brilliant.
yeah.
That's wonderful.
You said it, baby.
Yes.
You can send your times in by email to 3legs4wheels@gmail.com, direct message on Twitter at 3legs4wheels, and if you've got facebook.com /3legs4wheels, you can send a private message on there as well. And if you want to get hold of the rest of us on Twitter, you can get us
At Sean Cowper.
At Flood21.
At Dan Dankleton.
at Pablo100, and for those of you brave enough to send Lee a message, it's at a total shunt.
Yep.
We will be back next week. We will
We will.
have a review of whatever goes on in Bahrain and all the big news stories that are going to be happening tomorrow morning that we're going to miss.
Yeah, because Thursday is now the new Tuesday.
Thursday's
because
the new
we decided
Tuesday,
to
just
pod
for,
on a Wednesday.
just for this week only.
Yeah.
And just to let you know, there is an extra show that we do every week on Patreon, where if you subscribe to us from anything from $1 a month upwards, all the proceeds go to keeping us going. And there's an extra show that we do every week talking about things other than F1, what we've been up to, what music we've been
General
listening
life.
to, general life stuff. Any general life stuff happen recently?
I don't know.
You will have to subscribe
Anyone
to
got
the
engaged or
Patreon.
anything?
I didn't. Oh,
I did
by,
not.
By didn't, that means you didn't as well, Sean.
A few years ago.
Did you?
Yep.
Hear more about that on the Patreon podcast.
Full details, no pictures.
And I just want to say thanks to Kieran for playing my song on his radio show as well.
Ah,
on,
yes,
on
he did
Vectis
that.
Radio, yeah.
That's Vectis Radio in the Isle of Wight.
It is, yes.
On Kieran's new music show on a Sunday,
Sunday
I believe,
evening.
8 o'clock.
7:30 onwards.
Was it
but
half
yeah.
7? And you can listen to that online at...
Vectisradio.com/listen. But I don't think you can listen to the show again. But
you can listen to Kieran's show every week.
Listen to Kieran's show every week. He's great. And the show's great. And new music's always good to listen to. So give that a listen. As
Even
well.
I think that, and I'm dead old.
I was sandwiched between the Chemical Brothers and Idlewild. It was a bit odd.
Oh, lovely.
That sounds like one hell of a train ride.
Yeah, it was.
We will see you next week. Bye-bye.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.